Hey everybody, welcome to Sweetcast. This is Clint. I want to talk about this little one. I'm going to show some stuff from Twitter. Don't contact anybody or anything like that. That's not the point, but this is public information, and so we're going to talk about it. It's in the public. So Dynamite Comics, you might remember that they have a deal with Ethan Van Sciver for him to do some variant covers that he's going to crowdfund and sell. Sounds like a win-win situation to me. At the same time, Dynamite is just doing what Dynamite does, essentially. They're being an independent company. I wish that more companies would do this. Now, Dynamite has not said that they've sided with Comicsgate. They haven't said that they have any particular ideology or any political leaning, anything like that. They're just a company doing their thing. Now, that's not good enough. If activists on Twitter had their way, it would be a monolith, and everybody would be doing and thinking and saying exactly the same things. And so this is one of those tactics that gets brought up a lot, and that is a threat that they're going to somehow put you out of business. Don't fall for it, Dynamite Comics. Do not fall for it. You're gaining so much more business by just ignoring this and letting people talk about your company than you are from engaging in it. And so far, Dynamite has not engaged in it, and I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, so here's the big problem. This account here posted this. They found out that Dynamite Comics retweeted something from Bounding Into Comics, and it was a cosplay of the day, and it was actually, you can't see this very well, but it was Vampirella. Now, if you didn't know this, Dynamite Comics publishes Vampirella comics. And so when Vampirella is getting good press, it doesn't matter who's writing that press. When they're doing that, Dynamite Comics is happy about it. And so they're going to retweet it. Now, this is how most every comic publisher would work. If they see something that is good, that is said about their product, they're going to shout it from the rooftops, or at the least, retweet it. Now, I can tell you, I had several people say when my book, Downcast, was up during the main campaign phase on Indiegogo, I even had some of the leftist Twitter trolls saying that my book looked good, and I retweeted the heck out of that, because why not? It doesn't matter who's saying it. If they're agreeing that your book is good, people ought to know about that. So Dynamite Comics retweeted Bounding Into Comics, and let me make one thing clear here. Bounding Into Comics, I would consider an alternative comics news site. They are less spammy and malware-y than sites like Bleeding Cool and a lot of the other quote-unquote mainstream comic book news sites. So Bounding Into Comics is just as legitimate as any other mainstream comic site, except they're taking an alternative angle, and they're actually giving creators that are outside of the mainstream industry a fair shake. And because of that, they're evil. Not really, but according to everybody else, they're evil. Okay, so Dynamite Comics retweeted this. Therefore, this Twitter user had to unfollow. Not only that, okay, let's think this through. They unfollowed Dynamite Comics, and they made sure to stop and take a screenshot so that they could prove that they unfollowed Dynamite Comics. You see how weird that is? If you're following somebody and you decide not to follow them, that's one thing. But when it has more to do with showing everybody that you're not following them, that is where you creep into activism. Now, I don't buy Marvel Comics anymore, at least not current issues of Marvel Comics. I've also stopped with DC Comics. I'm exclusively buying indie comics. Now, having said that, I'm still, I think, following both Marvel Comics and DC Comics because they're comics and I want to know what's going on. I follow a lot of people who are actually left-wing activists in comics because I want to see what's going on and what they're saying. It doesn't have anything to do with subscribing to their way of thinking, their opinions, or anything else. It's just so you can see what's going on. Now, unfollowing, the funny thing is you could have just said, hey, I've unfollowed Dynamite Comics because you're fraternizing with Bounding Into Comics, and I don't like Bounding Into Comics. but you didn't. You had to take a screenshot to prove, quote unquote, prove that you are unfollowing them. Now, never mind that you could follow and then immediately unfollow and get the screen and then take a screenshot. That doesn't matter. The point is you had to prove it. You could also have taken the screenshot and then started following again. Again, nobody cares. None of this actually matters. But it does start some more. So here's another one. Here's more proof. Again, there has to be screenshots because this is evidence that the world needs. That Ladies Making Comics has unfollowed Dynamite Comics, not because of the Ethan Van Sciver thing, but because they retweeted the most innocuous kind of article that they could, which is a cosplayer that's cosplaying as Vampirella, and it is their own character. This is so silly. Okay, so I gotta read this one here. I would do like a great soy voice, but I don't know. I've got to practice that. I don't know how people are so good at that. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, here we go. Ladies Making Comics says, and now this is done. And then in parentheses, and yes, I blacked out my shop's info because I would not put it past any alligator. I'm assuming that means gators, as in comics gators, I'm guessing. Wouldn't put it past any alligators to hassle them because of my own personal choice as their customer. Oh, this is wrong on so many levels. Now, insinuating that somebody or a group of people are going to call your comic shop and harass them because you took a book. This is James Bond. You took James Bond off your pull list, and so that's going to make so many people upset that they're going to call your local comic shop and tell them how upset they are that you canceled something on your pull list. You see how insane this is? Nobody is that stupid and crazy. But you're going to put it out there anyway because it looks like evidence that there are crazy people stalking you. This is crazy. If you don't want to get James Bond, just don't get James Bond. Oh, man. And you know what? If James Bond was a real person, it wouldn't surprise me if he read Bounding into Comics. Just saying. Okay, we're going to continue on here. This is, again, more of the screed. What's also really funny is all the people in this thread accusing me of maintaining an echo chamber when I clearly only saw this because I don't have BIC. What's BIC? Blocked? BIC? Bounding in the Comics. There we go. Bounding in the Comics blocked. And B, I don't have their replies in my notifications, which means they've muted me. Well, I mean, I don't know about that. They could have muted you. They could block you too if they wanted to. You could block them. It doesn't matter. But punishing Dynamite Comics because you don't like Bounding in the Comics and then saying that you don't have an echo chamber, this is kind of shocking. All right, it'll continue here some more. Interesting how all I said was that one website is akin to Breitbart and one creator is right-wing and someone is acting like I called them Nazis. That's an interesting connection for someone on their side to make. Now, I'm actually quite pleased, shocked, and I don't know what else, tickled maybe, that they're not calling anyone Nazis. That is definitely over the line. I'm glad we can agree that that's nonsense to call people Nazis if you disagree with them. Saying that Bounding into Comics is the Breitbart of comics media, I don't know about that. And no, I really do think that Breitbart generally has a worse name than it deserves. Sometimes it's been worse than others. But it's being used as some kind of like the core alt-right place or white supremacist website or something like that. But Bounding into Comics talks about comics, let's face it. It's not about politics. It's about comics. It's pushing back against your politics. It's anti-activism. Now, this isn't really shocking because you may have seen this article. I would do a video about it, but everybody has. And it's on Christopher Priest, who actually is writing Vampirella. He just started. And during an interview with Newsarama, they asked him some questions that really tried to put him in a hard position. And he answered those, I think, just honestly and, however it came to mind. And they were trying to do some gotcha journalism, essentially. He didn't fall for it. It seems weird, though, that they're attacking or trying to go after this guy that's writing Vampirella. I realize that a lot of people don't want to jump on Dynamite and get after them strictly because they're selling variant covers to Ethan Van Sciver, but it's not surprising at all that they're trying to find other ways to get at Dynamite Comics and find ways to ostracize them or scare them into compliance. Dynamite, don't listen, do your thing. Most people don't care about any of this. You're really only bothering a few people, and they know this. That's why they have to show evidence for every little thing. They have to show that they're not getting James Bond anymore. They have to show that they stopped following you on Twitter. And that is only because it's a fear tactic. It's something they're trying to do to force you into compliance. Do not listen. You're only going to be better off by continuing to do your thing as you'd like to do. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate it. Hey, if you haven't checked out my comic book Downcast, you can actually still get it right now on Indiegogo. It's in demand, and we are really close to getting $28,000. So check it out. It's in the link in the description below. And if you like it, do back it. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.